Ta-da! Thank you, Ellie. All right, welcome. So welcome to this application workshops, admissions and application workshop for the School of Nursing. We're hoping that this information will be helpful to you and just preparing to present your best self forward when you submit. There have been some changes, which is why your attendance here is so important today. Please note that because we are recording it, we will be sending this to you, right? So you don't have to memorize everything that's happening today. We will be following up within the next couple of days with not just the recording, but also a sheet that will be several sheets actually that will be attached that you can use to help you as you complete your application, including questions that you've asked in the chat. Please add your questions to the chat. We will be monitoring that and we'll circle back to the chat towards the end of the presentation. So with that, let's talk about the agenda a little bit. There are now 2 phases to the application for the School of Nursing. Remember that admission to the School of Nursing is a separate process from admission to Boise State University. We'll be covering both phases. We'll be covering the prerequisites for application, for admission consideration, how to access the application, what the interviews are all about, and some really good tips on how to interview as well as you possibly can through the interview portion. Again, we'll also have the question and answer period at the very end and some breakout rooms. So please hang out with us, because if you have additional questions you'd like to ask, join us in one of the breakout rooms and we'll try to have something smaller, a more intimate kind of conversation with you all. So with that in mind, let's kick this off, going into admission to the School of Nursing, phase 1.
Hi everyone, my name is Josette and I am an advisor here in the College of Health Science, particularly the preclinical team. I'm probably familiar to quite a few of you. Going to this first slide, first question we have to ask is, are you admitted to Boise State? If you happen to have applied in a previous semester and you have not taken classes, you're not active, I would say double check with the admissions office just to make sure that you are an active Boise State student. Also, there are a lot of prerequisites that you can have completed and some of them that can be in progress. So if we move to the next slide, we can take a look at those prereqs.
Absolutely, here you go.
Okay, so this is taking a look at the minimum requirements to be eligible to apply to the nursing program. First of all, you must earn a grade of C or higher in all of the nursing prerequisite courses. You must have a minimum of a 2.5 GPA, cumulative GPA, and your cumulative GPA is comprised of all of your Boise State courses, as well as your any and all transfer courses you may be bringing in. You must have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA in what we refer to, or you'll hear us refer to as the Big 5. And the Big 5 is made up of Bio 227, 228, Chemistry 101 or 111 plus the lab, Math 153 or 254, Health 207. If we move to the next slide, we can look at this in grid form. Okay, so here's all the courses that we just talked about, but in a grid form to show you which ones can be in progress and which ones need to be completed before you can apply to the program. So all of your courses in green must be completed with a C or better in order to be eligible to apply to the nursing program. But keep in mind the Big 5, that's where your admission GPA comes in, and that the chemistry, your anatomy and physiology, nutrition, and your math, they all have to maintain a 3.0 or higher to be eligible to apply to the program. The courses that you find in blue can be in progress when you apply, and then those courses that you see in gray, those aren't necessarily requirements or prereqs for the nursing program, but rather institutional or foundational requirements. We will advise you to try to get as many of those courses that you can completed before applying to the program, just because of, or just for the sheer volume that you're going to have to take care of while you're in the program. You're going to have a full-time load with that in itself. So just to recap, everything in green must be completed with a C or better. But keep in mind, again, the big five has to have that 3.0 to be eligible. And everything in green has to be completed prior to the application. And those courses that are in blue can be in progress when you apply.
Awesome. Thank you, Josette. Appreciate that. All right. So now we get into the actual nitty-gritty of applying to the program. And for that, we have our expert, Candace.
Thank you, Olga, and welcome everyone. I am an employee in the School of Nursing. So I am in the department. I work with the applications coming in and the students who, when they get into the program, I work closely with them as well.
I'm gonna head out.
Okay.
And then I told kids you're in charge until you.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to need you to please
Okay.
mute your, thank you. Go ahead, Candace. I'm sorry.
Yes, no worries. So the application for this cycle opened on January 1st. I want you to pay close attention because the deadline to apply is February 20th. This is a different date than what it has been in the past. So I urge you to please not wait until the last minute to apply. If you do and you're missing materials, we will not have time to get the materials from you late. If you apply early enough, there's time to fix things if you're missing them. Just a reminder that no late submissions are allowed. If you do not meet the deadline, you will no longer be qualified and would have to reapply the next semester. This deadline is tight, we know, but it has to be in order to get our phase 2 portion of the application completed in a timely manner. At the point of application, as Josette said earlier, I'm sorry, that's not what I'm talking about here. At this point of application, you should have already turned in your transcripts to Boise State Admissions. And if you've done this, then you are likely admitted to Boise State because they require that. If you have any of those courses in progress that Josette talked about, remember to send those final transcripts to Boise State Admissions as soon as your grades post.
Thank you, Candace. Can I move to the next slide?
Yes, please.
All righty.
Okay, so this is where I'm reiterating what Josette has said. So you've applied and was granted admission to Boise State. Please double check and make sure you are an active student. If you were admitted to Boise State prior and you did not have any enrollment, it is likely that you've been deactivated. So you can check your status in your student center or with admissions to ensure you are ready to go. So you've applied to Boise State and you were granted admission to Boise State. You've met with your pre-nursing advisor and you are ready to apply to the School of Nursing. The link on this slide will show you where to go to fill out the application. The application is pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure that you're answering each question true and accurately.
So what about the advising options? And I think Charles is going to help us with that.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Charles and I am an advisor here on the College of Health Science for preclinicals. So you filled out the application as true and accurate to the best of your knowledge. So it's at this point where you should use the save button on your application. The save button will actually allow you to create a URL that you will then be able to send to your advisor. So you could send that to Ellie, Josette, or myself so that we could review the application for you. All review requests must be accepted until February 13th. So you have up until February 13th to submit a request for that review to take place. After that, we will not be reviewing your applications prior to your submission. So it's really important that you apply early because if you are right up against the deadline, we will not have time to review your information before your submission. So once it's been reviewed, you'll have to go in and submit the application yourself. Your advisor, we will not be able to submit the application for you. And again, just keep in mind that that deadline up until February 13th to send us that URL if it is something that you want us to have reviewed for you.
Thank you, Charles. Those are two really important things, both the deadline and the recognition that advisors do not submit for you. Students must submit their applications themselves. Thank you so much. So now they've completed their review and we're moving on into phase one.
Yes, hello. My
Hey,
name is Janice Hetrick, and I will be reviewing your applications. At this point, you've completed and submitted the online application. You've paid your $20 application fee, and you've turned in any documentation to nursing admissions. Take a deep breath. Phase one is complete. The next thing you do is continue to watch your Boise State email. Here are some of the things that you will be looking for. You should be looking for emails from nursing admissions with questions. I frequently encounter situations where important supporting documents or transcripts are missing from the applications. I'm unable to approve you to move on to phase two until there is evidence that you have satisfactorily met all of the prerequisites. Also, there will be emails from nursing admissions letting you know whether you will or will not proceed to phase two. Your applications are reviewed in the order received. Look for emails from Cura Talent with your invitation to create an account with them. You will have the opportunity to practice the video interview process. Next slide. So, check your Boise State email. This doesn't mean once a week, it means at least once a day. Submitting your application successfully does not mean that your part of the process is over. Please check your spam filters and your folders in case you have missed something. Next slide. At this point, we're going to assume that you have moved on to phase two of the application process. Congratulations. Now it's time to interview. We will be using an online software program called Cura Talent. The phase two invitations to set up an account will be sent out weekly to applicants whose applications were reviewed and approved. As a reminder, this occurs in the order that the applications have been submitted and successfully completed in the phase one process. Assessing applicants in Cura Talent helps our admissions team mitigate the impact of bias in the admissions process. Your responses will be independently evaluated by multiple reviewers who will assess your strengths using competency-based criteria and structured rubrics. This process not only ensures consistency in a way that we assess and score applicants, it also means that your success doesn't rest on a single reviewer or question. The invitation will walk you through setting up your account and testing your equipment. You will have the opportunity to practice during this period. On February 28th, the official interview period will begin. You will receive an email from Cura Talent with this notification. You will have until March 10th at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time to complete this. This interview will consist of 6 timed video questions and 1 short timed writing portion. Please do not wait until the last minute to begin and complete the interview phase. You will want to test everything as soon as possible because if you have technical issues, you will need to contact Cura Talent directly. They do not have a 24/7 service. The Boise State Help Desk, as well as the School of Nursing staff and the College of Health and Science advisors do not have the ability to troubleshoot technical issues in Cura Talent. Finally, no late submissions will be allowed. If you do not meet the deadline, you will no longer be qualified and will have to reapply the next semester. Once you complete all phases of the application, you can expect to hear your status within 4 to 6 weeks beyond the application deadline. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Well, Kira Talent might be a very new thing to a lot of people using this kind of video format for interviewing. So to cover that and to help you prepare for that, we've got our resident expert with Emily.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Emily Davies, and I am the liaison to the College of Health Science, including the School of Nursing, of course, but I work in the Career Services Department. So congratulations to all of you for making it this far. I know that all of you have worked so very hard, and I do see some familiar faces on here or familiar names. So it's nice to see that you guys are engaging. We love that. But just to go over some tips real quick. So first and foremost, interviews are not about memorizing answers. They are about articulating your skills and abilities and how they relate to what you are applying for. We cannot guarantee that the questions that we cover today, or even the questions that we provide, in preparing, will be asked, but it is to help you prepare. So really think about what the question is asking and make sure your answer fits. You do not have to use a healthcare example if that is not what the question is asking, excuse me. So feel free to draw from all life experience. We are not expecting you to be polished and perfect. We prefer what we refer to as raw and real. You do not need to use the full time for the videos either. Having a shorter but well thought out answer is better than filling, just the time to fill it. So we are really looking at the quality of your answers. To go over just a few questions here and provide some tips. So first being, why are you interested in becoming a nurse? Typically, we have a lot of answers such as like, I really want to help people, but we really want a little bit more than that. So was there a defining moment for you? Emphasize your passion. What gravitated you towards the profession? And again, feel free to share a life experience if it is applicable. And again, you do not have to be in a healthcare related field for this to apply. And what do you know about the profession? So what does nursing entail and what skills are needed to become a nurse? And so, for example, talking about being a patient advocate and all the skills that nurses need, including being an impact on the community. And display your passion for nursing and show that you really know about this role. How have you prepared for the challenges of nursing school? So for example, a challenge that you may face as a student nurse is time management between clinicals, exams, and some of you may even work, part-time, full-time, or take on some volunteer opportunities. How have you juggled multiple responsibilities such as schoolwork, extracurriculars, and a demanding schedule? I recommend giving a specific example if you are asked that question. Something else to think about is maybe how your academic and extracurricular activities have prepared you to pursue a degree in nursing. We really want you to be resourceful and review the interview strategy worksheet, which is attached to the presentation on this slide. In this document, you will have access to workshops, interview questions, and interview strategies, including how to answer behavioral-based interview questions. You can also schedule an appointment with one of our career counselors to help you prepare for the interview, which I will discuss further on the next slide. And again, you do not need a healthcare background as a caregiver or CNA to answer the behavioral-based questions. Those are those questions that we typically see that start out with, tell me about a time when. Interviewers are typically looking at how you handle certain situations, such as how you critically think, how you problem solve, diffuse situations, etc. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So I want to really just cover some of the virtual interviewing here. Some of us may or may have not had this experience, and sometimes that could be a little intimidating. So we want to prepare you to the best of our ability, making sure that you test your technology. As previously stated in this presentation, Cura Talent, you'll have the opportunity to, test your audio and your video ahead of time. Removing distractions, such as background noises. We recommend maybe getting in a kind of like a safe spot, if you will, where you're not going to have distractions, roommates. If it comes down to you're having trouble with that, let me know and we can arrange something even for you to do that in our office. But just making sure that, you're limiting those distractions, including pets, that would maybe be distracting to you. We want to make sure you do your best on the interview. One thing to think about too is that you aren't able to blur your background, to my understanding, on this platform. So just kind of keep that in mind with what's behind you. That's just something to think about. And also take a deep breath. Once the verbal questions are asked, you will have 1.5 minutes to think about your response before submitting your answer. This can help you brainstorm and collect your thoughts. The timed response will be a total of 2 minutes. And then you will have 6 minutes to respond to the written questions. And then just keep in mind that you're not graded on grammar for the written questions, just really focusing on the content and responding to the question. I also recommend dressing professional. I know that they're only going to see half of you, but I always just feel like it kind of puts you in the mindset of, I'm ready to just do a wonderful job and put my best foot forward. So for women, I recommend maybe like a collared shirt, maybe even a blazer, solid colors, nothing too distracting. So I probably wouldn't recommend, like really bright colors like green or red, maybe something less distracting, like no polka dots or leopard prints. And then, for the rest of your attire, because this will help for future interviews anyways, but, just some slacks. And then as far as for men, maybe just like a button down long sleeve shirt with maybe even a tie. Again, those are just my suggestions. I do feel like it kind of helps you in that mindset of this is an actual interview. And then answer every question with a headline. So use the first sentence of your answer to restate the question to the interviewer. So for example, if the question is, what do you consider to be your greatest professional strength? This could help you as far as answering, I consider my greatest strength to be, and kind of going from there. So one other thing I wanted to touch on here is appointments. They really do book quickly. So what I would recommend is making that appointment as soon as today. I did include the link here below, and the appointments will be booked with our career counselors through Handshake. I will make sure to provide my email as well, just in case you have any issues with scheduling those appointments. Even if you are meeting with us like in February, because technically, as previously stated, you can't even complete the interview until February 28th. So even if you're meeting with us, let's just say February 15th, I recommend really getting those appointments in right away. We recommend doing it on Zoom just because it kind of helps you with that practice. However, you do have the option, of course, to meet with us in person as well on campus. That is going to be a little limited because we work more hybrid schedule still, but there are those options if that makes you more comfortable. So I think that's all I have right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Those tips are really helpful, not just for like even this, but for if you're interviewing for anywhere else, for anything else as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, Emily. And I do want to stress that for student services and academic advising, which is our office, for the preclinical advising, as well as for career services, you need to schedule, you need to book out early. We tend to book out probably a good 5 business days in advance at least. So thank you so much for covering that. We also are providing in the workshop, you'll get this, remember, you'll get these slides in the workshop slides, these links as well, the application link, the Kira Talent link, our advising team link, contact information just in general for advising office here at Boise State University, career services, and for the School of Nursing. So all of your information is there. Please continue to place your questions into the chat. We are keeping those so that we can respond to those. I just sent one to Ellie. So please make sure that you're adding those now. That would be great. We really want to thank you for attending here today. But before you leave, remember that we will have some breakout room time as well, so we can address things in smaller groups. There will be 4 breakouts that you will be able to, as soon as I open the rooms, that we can cover. But before we do that, Ellie, do we have any chats that you would like to target?
The only chat, you are all so well informed, that I fielded was forwarded to me by Olga. And in general, in my experience, 1C in the big 5 will not take you below a 3.0 if you are above a B in the other ones.
That's a great question. I appreciate
Short
it.
answer is, it depends. Please take our survey.
How, we have two questions that have also come in now, Ellie, that is, how do we submit in progress transcripts? As well as, can we talk about some of the hiccups that people have during interviews? Can we talk about the quick one first? How do we submit in progress transcripts?
Now, Janice will correct me if I'm wrong, but it is my experience that we create a PDF of an unofficial from the school where those classes are in progress. If they're in progress at Boise State, nursing admissions can see them.
This is correct.
So to clarify that, Ellie, did you, and Janice, you're saying that the student would create a document that they could then scan as a PDF, they'd be able to add.
Yes, there is a link to a Google form, which will allow them to upload that PDF of showing that their course is in progress.
Excellent. But in addition, they still need to submit their official document to Boise State University admissions.
That is correct.
All right, so two things that need to happen there. We have a question that came in before that as well. And somebody has asked, just to clarify, once we complete phase one, we wait for it to be reviewed by a counselor. You don't wait. You don't wait for it to be reviewed. Charles, can you address that for the student?
Certainly, yeah. So for those, the review is kind of an option that we highly recommend students doing so that you can save and continue later and then forward us the URL so that we can review it. And then if you so choose, then to submit it after we, let you know, hey, everything looks good, or there's no errors in your application process. However, if you did not want it to be reviewed, certainly you could submit it. It's just we highly, highly, highly recommend that you have us look over it. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I think that clarifies that. I hope for the student that clarifies that. This is not something that is an automatic. This is something that you schedule. You send in the URL to your advisor, and in the presentation that you will get within a couple of days, the links are included in there, the emails. Okay, please note that I did put the survey link up. Please, please, please answer the click on that link and please submit the survey. That would be very helpful to us as we schedule. There are some other questions that came up. I want to make sure we address Janice's when Janice submitted about types of hiccups.
Actually, isn't that more an Emily question? She says during interviews.
Yes, during interviews. Emily.
Sorry, I saw the question coming through. Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll up. It was from Amanda, correct?
Where she was
Yes.
asking what kind of hiccups might pop up.
Yes. Sorry, I was multitasking with the chat.
Sure.
Yeah, so common hiccups that I see, particularly with this process in the past, what I've heard is kind of what I mentioned earlier about the 2 minutes. Once a student maybe felt like they answered the question, but they felt like they needed to utilize that for that full 2 minutes. So they just kept talking to kind of talk. So that was something that's kind of maybe, I don't want to say harmed, but it just, we don't necessarily recommend that. Just again, answering the question to the best of your ability versus filling that full 2 minutes. Also, let's see, I think, to be honest with you, some of the behavioral based questions, and that's why we really recommend, scheduling a mock interview with one of our career counselors, just to kind of help you with the formatting of that, what we call the STAR method, which is the situation, the task, the action, and the result. And just making sure that you're following that model to the best of your ability so that, you're answering the question accurately. So those are probably, some of the two most common, I would say, hiccups, if you will. I hope that answered your question.
I think part of it too is just that whole concept of being able to practice that you mentioned in your slide, because you need that practice to be able to walk into an interview feeling confident about whatever you're asked, because that's real life, right? Whatever you're asked, that you're able to respond
Right.
In a clear and concise and confident manner. So thank you so much. There is a question, I think, from Serena. Do you see that, Ellie?
I am just coming down to it.
It is regarding recommendations or resumes.
We don't require them, Serena, and there is no place to upload them.
So there's a plus. You don't have to build one, but although I find that helpful ahead of time. Honing in, fine tuning your resume also helps in that process of being able to practice for an interview. So not required.
That's a very good point, and maybe we should ask Emily to comment on that. Emily, do you find that that form of written preparation is helpful?
Can you, I'm so sorry, because again, I was multitasking. Can you restate the question?
Serena says, any letters of recommendations or resumes required for this application? We don't. And Olga commented that that might be helpful preparation.
Oh, absolutely. And as we mentioned, it's good preparation, I think, in general, right? Just for the future too. So although that's not required, it could be very helpful, especially the resume, like as far as what points that we really want to emphasize. Yeah, so I hope that helps a little.
It's kind of like preparing for a test, right? You
Right.
review your notes, right? Having those ready to go and cleared.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good point that you make. I mean, even just writing out your job description at what you've done, I forget what I do. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I help students do this, this, and this, but I also do all these other things, right? And so just really brainstorming and I think reflecting on that experience could really be helpful and beneficial to you for the interview. Absolutely.
Thank you. There's a great question. Ellie, could you address the COVID one? Could you ask that COVID question?
I can, and we also probably should have Candace weigh in on this.
Absolutely.
Essentially, we have clinical partners, and clinical partners get to make their rules about whether students are required to have COVID vaccines.
So Candace and Janice, could you follow up with that?
Yes, so we do have the ability for you to say, I'm not going to get the vaccine for personal or medical reasons. But also, when you fill out that form, you are also signing that you do understand that we may not be able to find clinical placements for you. So if we cannot find clinical placements for you, then you cannot progress. So yes, there is a waiver, but there is also a risk because at any point in time, the clinical partners could change their stance on it. As of right now, there are clinical placements, but again, that's a risk.
We have a question. Thank you so much. We have a question about the earliest date that you can access the interview. Janice, could you respond to that?
Yes, I also don't know if anyone answered some of the general questions as far as in the past. For example, the last period application cycle, I had over 260 applications received. And there are 80 students in our cohort. So that was one of the questions there. Another question was about the 4 to 6 week period that you wait to hear the results. And that is starting March 10th after the interview period closes so that the reviewers have the adequate time to process that and we can communicate the information to everyone. You will have time to practice your interview as soon as you have received, after you submit your application. If it's approved, you will receive an invitation to set up an account and you can practice, but you will not have access to the actual interview questions until February 28th.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Again, a reminder to everyone, the survey is in the chat. So it says survey, and then there's a link. If you could go ahead and click on that and fill that out. All right, with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and open up the breakout rooms. Ellie will be going to room 1. Josette will be in room 2 with Charles as well. Candace will be in room 3 and Emily will be in room 4. Thank you all so very much for being here with us. Please join us in the breakout rooms so that we can continue to address your questions. And then again, please remember to read your Boise State email. Today is Oh, it's Tuesday, right? Today is
Yes, it
Tuesday.
is.
So if it's Tuesday, it
It's
must be
Tuesday.
Belgium. That's an old song. So, old movie. So probably about Thursday, you'll be getting a copy of the presentation which includes the links along with the sheets. It's an open, you could, as soon as I open the rooms, Janice, everybody can just go in.
Okay.
Thank you so much. You can join any room you like. So Charles, you're with Ellie.
Charles is with me, but where?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Where
I'm-
am I?
Two. You're in room 2. Josette is in room 2. Ellie's in room 1.
Okay.
Candace is in room 3.
What
And
room would
Emily's
you
in room
like me
4.
to be in? Room 1 or 2?
With Candace?
Oh, you want me with Candace?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, okay.
And please, those of you who are in the room, if you could be so kind as to track those the questions that you're with your students, that would be great.
Olga, do you want to stop recording?
I will stop recording now.